Hello, everyone, and welcome to Before the Bell, right here where podcasts are heard across the nation. Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it, we're there. If not, let me know, we'll get there. Got a special guest this week. He is a longtime member of the wrestling business, knowledgeable, tough for sure, and is the current Memphis Heritage Wrestling Champion for Championship Wrestling from Memphis. I have the privilege to have Alan Steele, the Memphis Mauler, all that, right here on this podcast. Alan, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure to have you on Before the Bell.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on here, actually. Any little opportunity to do stuff like this, to spread the word. And of course, we all have the egos, so anything to pat ourselves on the back is never a bad thing.
Well, that's true. Little backstory. I'll give you a little insight for Alan and I. I know Alan and I don't, always agree with the decisions that you make on, Championship Wrestling from Memphis, but I'm not going to, say too much because you're a wrestler and I'm not. I don't want to get hurt. But Alan and I actually worked for a previous promotion on television, which is where I believe I met you for the first time. And really learned a lot working alongside of you there in West Memphis.
Yeah, those were some fun times too, man. That was something that, man, it seemed like it was gaining a little traction, and then for whatever reason,
right?
Not everybody that plays football makes it to the NFL, so it just didn't quite take off, But yeah, it was great, man. It was great then. It's great now. I've been doing this a long time, and I wake up every day loving every minute of it.
So let's talk
almost every minute.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How long have you been in the wrestling business? When did you start?
I started in 1997. So I am in my 24th year. So yeah, I have been doing this for quite some time now.
I'm sorry, you said 1997?
I did say 1997.
Okay.
I'm telling my age a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. Needless to say, that's a plethora of experience for sure. And we just mentioned a second ago that everybody that plays everybody that wants to play football doesn't always make it to the team, but it seems like you've made it to those teams a couple of times. Tell us about your experiences and opportunities that you've had with WWE and even WCW. You don't have to go into detail about the WCW specifics. But just kind of anything leading up to it and how you got involved in the first place.
Well, I've done a lot of extra work, for lack of other words. I mean, I've been booked by the WWE a bunch. Anytime it was in a certain driving range, whether it be Birmingham, Alabama, Little Rock, Arkansas, Nashville, Tennessee. If they're nearby, they're always looking for local wrestlers to fill spots. My dogs agree with me here, apparently. But they're looking for, local wrestlers there's no telling what you'll be doing, whether you're helping just with security or you might get a match, you might get a legit tryout or, whatever it is. But the first time, I think, if I remember correctly, that I wrestled or was booked by the WWE. Sir Mo, who WWE been on a mission, tag team champion at one point. He and I got to know each other really well. Worked together quite a bit. And WWE was coming to town, and he got me an opportunity to get looked at, and so went, did a workout in the ring, all that type stuff. I don't remember if I had an on-air part or position that time, but I've been on a bunch of stuff for them, man. I'm actually, you got to look for it, but the new and improved D-Generation X DVD set, I'm on that. I think it's disc 2. Yeah, I didn't even realize it, man. I got a phone call one day, and a buddy of mine was like, "Man, do you realize you're on the DVD?" And I was like, "What DVD?" I mean, it's just like, I don't know, camera footage from a gas station, or what are you talking about? But he was like, no, the DX DVD. He told me exactly where and all this stuff. And I didn't have the DVD. He let me borrow it. I brought it home. I watched it. And I was like, well, that was really cool. And on that particular spot, I was a police officer, and I arrested Shawn Michaels. And it's pretty neat, man. You got to talk and roll, and they don't just pass those around too easily. But I've been up there a bunch, man. And then as far as like WCW goes, I'll try to keep this quick, but it's a cool story. It's about 11:30 at night, and my phone rings, and I'm like, okay, who the heck is calling me at 11:30 at night? And it's Johnny Dotson. And so I was like, okay, well, let me see what's up. So I thought I was going to have to go, like, help him out or bail him out or something. I didn't know exactly what was going on.
So y'all been causing trouble for a while, it seems like.
This is not a new thing, yes. Yeah. But he was on the phone, and he was like, hey, I got somebody sitting here who wants to talk to you. And I was like, all right. So he hands his phone over, and this voice, which I recognized immediately, an impression, or this is legit. And he goes, Alan, is it? I was like, yes. And he's like, this is Arn Anderson. And I go, say what? And so literally Johnny Dodson, I don't know how he did it, but he found an in with the WCW guys, Dave Penzer, Arn Anderson. It was some more guys, but they're riding around Memphis in a limousine. And he's like, yeah, man, he got himself booked in Tupelo, Mississippi the next night.
Wow.
And Arn Anderson goes, hey, you want to come to Tupelo? I said, well, heck yeah, I want to come to Tupelo. And went down to Tupelo, and they filmed, what was it? It was Nitro and Thunder in the same night down at the, the Bancourt South, I think is the big arena down there.
Yeah.
And I had a part on that, and me and Johnny were kind of involved in the same segment on WCW. And that was like the only time that I did anything for WCW. And I've been backstage at TNA, but I never really did anything there. Just kind of there in case they needed some folks. Me and a couple of guys would ride up to Nashville, and we were there. But as far as really working, it was WWE was probably definitely the main one.
Well, not too many people, whether you like Alan Steele or not too many people can actually say, especially at a time with WCW when the Four Horsemen were really, a big staple there in WCW, can say that they had a phone call that ended up being transferred over to Arn Anderson.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
I mean, that's like a bucket list item, regardless of getting booked or not, just saying, I talked to Arn Anderson yesterday.
Right. And then, funny thing later on, when he left there and went to the WWE, and one of the deals when I was at WWE, they do this working out in the ring, see what you got. They don't know us, you know what I mean? So there's like, well, get in here, let's see what you got. So it's really cool. One day I got in the ring with Triple H, Fit Finlay, The Undertaker, Arn Anderson, all in one day, and I'm standing around looking like, this is really happening? And like everybody else is on the floor, and it's me and one of the guys they were working with, Luther Reigns. I don't remember him, but they were trying to polish him up and show him some stuff. Brought me in the ring and just kept me in there, and I just stayed. And I was like, well, I guess none of y'all are getting a chance. I'm sucking up all this time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I need this on video because nobody's ever going to believe this.
All right, so tell me, it's interesting. You're in the ring essentially with a tryout. Letting them see what Alan Steele is, letting them see what you're capable of. But let's back it up even further. Where did you train, and who trained you?
All right. Well, I was kind of looking around. I decided I wanted to give it a shot. Right. I've watched wrestling since I came out the womb. I really believe, and I just decided one day. I was like, man, I want to give it a shot. I've loved it for as long as I could remember. So Power Pro Wrestling hadn't been on TV very long. And I had talked to a couple of people. I talked to a guy around Memphis named Charlie Parks, who ran his own shows.
The late Charlie Parks.
Mm-hmm. And spoke to him. I knew his niece, and she introduced me to him, and I went over to his house. He had a ring in his backyard, and I was going, oh, man, you can do this whenever you want. So he let me get in the ring and see how, everybody wants to see, is this like a trampoline? And it's definitely not like a trampoline. So I was going to train with him. And then I was working out at the French Riviera Spa out on Winchester. And one day I'm working out. And while I'm working out, I look up towards the front and I see a head that's above the wall that they have the little made office up towards the front. And this guy's walking by and I can see his head over the top of the wall. I go, who is this giant walking in here? And it's Sid Vicious. And so I try not to run up to him immediately, but I start just, seeing him in there a few times and I talk to him and I'm like, hey man, how hard is it to get in the wrestling business? And he's like, well, I can train you if you're interested. Like, okay, cool. So we actually exchanged numbers and we talked back and forth. And he kept trying to arrange this training and this, that, and the other. And I got impatient. And so I ended up writing Power Pro Wrestling a letter. And I was like, hey, I was just wondering if y'all have a wrestling school. And, you probably don't expect to get a response, but like within probably a week or two, I got a letter back. And it said, yes, sir, we do have a wrestling school. And as a matter of fact, it's run by the one and only Bill Superstar Dundee.
Wow.
Now, me growing up as a kid, Bill Dundee was one of my favorite wrestlers. I've never been the tallest guy in the room. And I used to watch guys like him and Coco Beware, shorter stature guys who just fight you tooth and nail. And I go, see, that's the kind of wrestler I think I'll be because I'm not 7 foot tall. And sure enough, they gave me Bill Dundee's phone number. And so I call it and we make arrangements to meet up at Channel 5. And probably within a month, I've given him my deposit and I'm ready to start training. And then I remember because I would train on Wednesday nights. I trained once a week. And I would drive from Memphis to Jackson. It started at Jackson, Tennessee. And then at some point, it kind of transferred over to McKenzie, Tennessee. So every week I was driving to either Jackson or McKenzie during the week. And it was crazy. You're starting out, you're working a regular job and, you're trying to make this money to pay for this training and all this type of stuff. So I'd work, get off work, go home, take a quick shower, jump in the car, drive to Jackson, sweat my brains out and come back home, clean up, go to and go back to work. And you talk about busting a balloon, man. It's like you just dream, just getting a train. And then you wake up in the morning and go, oh man, I got to do this real life stuff again. So, but it's part of it. But I trained with Bill. It was fun. It's a strip mall in Jackson right off exit 80. And there was a Taekwondo school in there. And in the very back of the Taekwondo school was this room big enough for a wrestling ring. And I mean, barely big enough. We had the ring in there and not much else. And so we go up there and we train on Wednesdays. And it was really cool because at the time, a lot of the young guys in Power Pro were going up there to get extra ring time and, to work out, all this stuff. So I got to get in the ring with like Derek King, Trey Keller, Blade Boudreaux. I think Bulldog Reigns might have been there one time, Naughty by Nature Rude. So I had a bunch of different hands and minds and brains involved and kind of guiding me a little bit, breaking me in and teaching me, the how to do this stuff and when and why. And so I was fortunate, man. I think I got some really good training, and 24 years later, I'm still at it.
It's interesting to think about, the impressions that have went on, and of course, both of us, have worked at some point with former Power Pro owner Randy Hales, and not sure what your relationship with Randy is, but Randy and I have always got along. Really enjoy his company. Hope to see him. He actually lives about 30 minutes from me. Sad to say I haven't seen him in a couple of years, but that's how the wrestling business is. Even though we might be just a drive away, life and wrestling gets in the way. But definitely sending some well wishes to Randy, especially with his new streaming stuff he's got going on Facebook.
Yeah, he's staying busy. But me and Randy, I wouldn't say we necessarily seen eye to eye always, but that was somebody I always respected just for the knowledge and the wisdom and just how long he's been doing wrestling and Memphis wrestling, which it's kind of key to this interview here.
Yeah.
So,
Because
but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's gone through a lot of iterations. I mean, you look back from Channel 5 back in the day with Championship Wrestling, and then you've got USWA, I believe, was in Memphis, and then Power Pro, and then you had Memphis Championship Wrestling, which I believe was Corey Macklin was helping put that on at one time, and then Memphis Wrestling, the final iteration before the new Championship Wrestling from Memphis. But let's talk about what you're working on these days. As I mentioned, Championship Wrestling from Memphis, and kind of mentioned some of the past programs that have been on air in Memphis. What are you doing today? What are some of the places that you're working, and where can people find you?
Well, I'm pretty good at hiding, so I'm kind of hard to find. But as far as like social media stuff, everything is at SteelTrap76. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's the only three I do. And trust me, it took me a while to get used to Instagram and Twitter. Facebook I was pretty good at. They started bringing that stuff out, and I don't even want to give Twitch or whatever it is a try. So, but
TikTok.
As far as TikTok, that to me, my wife loves TikTok. It sends me video links all the time, but I have yet to pull up an app to try to do it, but look at it myself. But as far as what I'm doing now, I don't travel nearly as much as I used to, especially like the pandemic stuff, man. That really kind of put a lot of stuff on hold. And I'm kind of picky about where I go. I guess that's because I've been doing this for quite a while. So it's few and far between me really going real far away and putting a lot of miles on my car, unless I think it's really, an opportunity. And that's not a knock at some of these people that have tried to get me to come work for them. Right. But, I try to balance home life with this, and I've done a pretty good job at that. So I'm kind of picky and choosy. But, right now my main focus is strictly on Championship Wrestling from Memphis, and see how far and how great and how big that can be. So that's my goal. That's what I'm really currently up to. I've talked to a few people. I talked to a guy the other day about coming to Missouri, and he wants to see that heritage title defended at his company. And I was like, now you kind of got my brain, got the gears turning a little bit. So, but yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, Championship Wrestling from Memphis, man. Everybody I think has goals when they first start into the wrestling business, and honestly, man, I'm real proud of myself because I literally checked off every box that I wanted to do,
right?
Everything. And the last few years, I added one, and that was something develop in Memphis again. I don't know if it'll reach the heights and the standards of, the Jerry Jarrett days and all that stuff. I just want to be a part of helping with that. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. And like I said, as far as the bucket list goes, my bucket's full. This is one that I kind of added to it. So if I can check this off and really help this thing take off and grow with the wrestling school and everything else involved, I'll be a happy guy when I can not do this anymore. You know what I mean? when I decide not to lace the boots up anymore, I can look back and go, okay, yeah, I'm cool with that. Because, walking away is hard for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to be able to just do it and breathe deeply and go, okay, I'm good. So I think I'm on a good path of doing that. So.
Well, with that, we're gonna break away from some of the sentimental conversations and talk a little bit more when we come back from our break about where Alan Steele is at these days in Championship Wrestling for Memphis. You heard about the Heritage title. You've heard us talk about Memphis Wrestling today, where it's at, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the realm of wrestling in Memphis when we come back after our break with Alan Steele, the Memphis Heritage Champion. We'll be back right after this.
Do you have what it takes to become a pro wrestler? Prove it with the best in Memphis wrestling. I'm head coach King Cobra, and I want to see what you've got. Hit me up today at ChampionshipWrestlingMemphis.com.
Championship Wrestling Gulf Coast brings the hardest-hitting action of the United Wrestling Network to the Gulf Coast region. Watch Championship Wrestling Gulf Coast every Sunday night at 10 p.m. on CBS Lake Charles and worldwide on YouTube.
Memphis Wrestling is headed to Hernando, Mississippi for Summer Showdown at Commerce Street Market. Meet and watch former WWE star Swoggle.
Hey guys, former WWE superstar Hornswoggle here. June 26th. The Commerce Street Market, Memphis Wrestling. I'm going to be there. Come on out. It's absolutely free. Free wrestling. Come on out. Come say hey. Watch some awesome wrestling. We'll see you June 26th.
It's free! All right, hello everybody. We're back from that commercial break. We want to thank our wonderful sponsors here at Anchor, as well as Championship Wrestling from Memphis and Championship Wrestling Gulf Coast, for providing some great commercials, as well as if you want to become a professional wrestler, referee, manager, announcer, feel free to go to championshipwrestlingmemphis.com, where they currently have a training facility there at the WrestleCenter. Head coach King Cobra, along with some of the top talent at Championship Wrestling from Memphis, who are there to make sure that you get the best training possible. But you can get all that information from their website, championshipwrestlingmemphis.com. Here with my guest, Alan Steele. Alan is the current reigning and defending Memphis Heritage Champion, a brand new title that pays legacy and homage to the Memphis wrestling of the past. Some of the great superstars, the kings of wrestling that have come through Memphis, are just captured with the name of that title, Memphis Heritage Championship. And we saw on a previous episode of Championship Wrestling from Memphis on CW30, as well as their YouTube channel, live streaming on Saturdays at high noon, we saw Jerry Jarrett, the founder of Memphis Wrestling itself, come out for a presentation ceremony to the winner of the Grind City Rumble, Alan Steele. He was going to present you the title, but then you started putting on gloves. What was that about?
See, I thought we were going to keep this nice. Now we're starting to get into a little dirt stuff. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I had no disrespect to Jerry Jarrett or anybody who came before me. But, you know, if you're presenting me a title, this title is, you know, for the present and the future of Memphis wrestling, I don't need to hear a lot about, you know, you're in the same light as blah blah blah. I don't need to hear that. And when I kind of, you know, I mean, he made a big deal out of it, and of course he should have, because I mean, he was handing the title to me, and so if he's handing that title to me, it's a big deal. But I got tired of listening to him talk, and you know, when the gloves come on, business picks up, and I decided that it was time for business to pick up. So didn't quite work out how we planned, but never say never, right?
Well, and it seems in what would be an unprecedented attack against Jerry Jarrett, we saw some superstars come to the aid of Jerry Jarrett, one of which we'll talk about, the Posse, coming to the aid of not only Jerry Jarrett, but a couple of times you've ran in with a Posse, and they've kind of caused some problems for not only you, but for your partner, Johnny Dotson.
Yeah. See, I've known the Posse a long time, man. I remember when both of those guys started wrestling, and all they've seemed to really care about is having a really fun time and entertaining. And I'm using air quotes right now. You can't see. Entertaining the fans, because I don't think what they do is that entertaining or funny, especially when they try to, you know, joke on someone serious, like, I don't know, perhaps the Memphis Heritage Champion, and you know, they want to step up and be superheroes, or you know, and you throw the word superstar around there. Let's not use that so loosely, because really there's only two in that locker room, and that's Johnny Dotson and myself. The rest of them are just, there's something else. But there will be a time where all of the shenanigans and all the joking and all the laughing will come to a halt. And the only people that'll be laughing will be Johnny Dotson and myself, because those who laugh last always laugh the loudest.
Well, I'm not gonna argue, and I'm certainly not gonna poke the bear, because if you haven't seen Alan Steele and you haven't seen me, or if you have, you already realize that Alan's a little bit bigger than I am. So again, not going to poke that bear, but I do want to talk about your confrontations with Action Jackson starting to heat up. He's kind of putting himself in the between you and that Memphis Heritage title. Things haven't gotten physical at this point, but he's definitely been talking a big game. Are you concerned that Action Jackson could potentially cause an upset victory and take that title from you? And I ask cautiously.
No, I'm not. I say that because I've known Action Jackson since his day one. As a matter of fact, if you have Action Jackson on here at any point to interview him, ask him who trained him. Because years ago, when he first started out, Dustin Starr and myself got him, got Mike Anthony, and got several others started in this wrestling business. You know, there's an old saying that you'll hear over and over again from guys who with a little experience on them that, you know, I may have taught Action Jackson everything that he knows, but I sure didn't teach him everything that I know. So I'm not worried about per se him getting a upset victory and taking my Heritage title away. Nothing against him. He's proven time and time again he's extremely talented. He's very athletic. He's very charismatic. He's got all those things that when you watch on television that catch your eye as a fan, especially, and the kids love him. And, you know, he's smart. He's got his juice and he's cool looking and he wears the shades and he's got the little, whatever that stuff is on the side of his head. And he's got the cool haircut and whatever. And he's impressive in the ring. But again, he wouldn't be any of that without me.
So you're not even the least bit concerned about a potential physical altercation happening at all.
Terrence, it's what I'm gonna tell you this, and I've probably told you this at some point in our crossing of paths before. I fear no man that walks the planet Earth. So whether he is a pro wrestler or whatever else he is, I have absolutely no fear. Not to mention, and I've said this on the television show, where you see Alan Steele, you see Johnny Dotson. And where you see Johnny Dotson, you see Alan Steele. So I'm never really at a disadvantage.
And it's a good point made there. And you're also facing another front. So now you're fighting potentially two fronts here. You've got things heating up with Action Jackson. You've already established, a little bit of a confrontation with the posse. Now that third front, Bret Michaels. You beat Bret Michaels in the Grind City Rumble to win, be the first ever Memphis Heritage Champion from that Grind City Rumble, and he's coming for you. And he has definitely made it known, not only to you, but the world on television and on the interwebs, as some older generations call it, that he's coming for you, and he's coming for that title. And I know you're not fearful of Bret Michaels, but shouldn't you be, really? I mean, he's a big guy. And he's going to be coming. He's been absent for a couple of weeks, but he's definitely going to make an impact when he comes back. Does that not concern you at all?
No, not really. And I know, if you look at Bret Michaels, he's an impressive human being. I mean, I don't know exactly what he weighs. I think they announced him at 260, 265. He obviously spends a whole lot of time lifting weights and in the gym, right? Here's the thing that separates Bret Michaels and myself. I'm not that much more experienced than him. Let me go ahead and put that out there. I'm on my 24th year. He's on his 21st year. But see, I've competed at a higher level since day one than he ever has. So while he was in, this corner of Mississippi, and always the big fish in the small pond, I said, the heck with that. I jumped into the ocean and I started swimming with the sharks from the jump. So I learned way more early on than he still knows. So that's for one. Secondly, all those big old muscles that he's got on him. And I mean, if you stood us side by side and you go, who's the bigger, stronger guy? probably 9 out of 10 are going to point at Bret Michaels. And that's fine. We have a different training style. I was more of a power lifter coming up. I was so I was used to pushing weight around. I'm used to moving things around, big things, big people. So whether he's 240, 250, 260, I've been in the ring with bigger, badder, and stronger. So as far as being worried about him, all those muscles take up a lot of oxygen. So he's going to gas. I'm going to take him in the deep end, and I'm going to drown him. So all those muscles he has on his physique, which is very impressive to look at on an 8x10, are show muscles. All the muscles that I have are go muscles. There's a big difference. You can ask around the fighting world. You can ask around boxing, MMA. They'll tell you there's a major difference between go and show. And Robo Hick himself over there knows it. Because when he steps in the ring with me, he knows it's a different animal staring at him than anybody else he's ever been in the ring with. So Bret Michaels, as impressive as he is, still has a ways to go before he ever takes that Memphis Heritage title away from me.
Well, I can definitely understand the. I'm trying to find words to convey feelings about what you just said. Not that I have personal investment, as the announcer at Championship Wrestling for Memphis. I have my own little corner, and I'm going to stay out of the fight between you guys because I definitely don't want to be in the middle of that. But trying to, I'm going to have to try to get Bret Michaels on this podcast to kind of respond to some of the things that's been said here. And, and for those of you listening, and in the words of one of my former broadcast partners, when I did TV commentary, John Steele, Alan Steele is a hoss. If you think about the true Southern terminology of a hoss, he may not have the muscles, but, I'll give credit where credit is due. Alan Steele is no small individual. A lot of strength there, and you prove that. The Grind City Rumble, you've proven that in previous wrestling promotions and in previous wrestling championships that you've held at independent promotions. I mean, even going back, and again, this is not to try to keep me out of trouble with Alan, but to give credit where credit is due. It wouldn't have worked for WCW, wouldn't have worked for WWE in the capacities that he did if they didn't believe that there was something there. So, Alan, you're going to have more people coming for that Memphis Heritage title, and I'm sure you're going to say that you're going to knock them down each and every time. But what is your message to any challenger, not just Championship Wrestling for Memphis, but all of the other Championship Wrestling programs, Gulf Coast, Arizona, Hollywood, or anybody outside of the United Wrestling Network? What is your message to them? Should they want to challenge you for the Memphis Heritage title?
Well, I guess that depends on if they like to fight or not. Because that Memphis style is a little different than probably that West Coast style, and that Gulf Coast might be close to Memphis style. But I mean, I don't care what airport you got to go to. I don't care what bus you got to get on. I don't care if you jump in the car. Tell me when, tell me where, and what time, and whether you're a champion, a challenger, or a chump. You put your name on the line. If it's something that interests me, I'm turning into a prize fighter. So I've got one title now. I would not mind unifying all of them. I'll go to California. I'll come back home with 2 titles. I'll go to the coast, come back home with 3. I'm not knocking anybody there, but I know myself. And I know that I'm one of the guys who will die in that ring before I let you beat me 1, 2, 3. I'm not saying I can't have an off day, but it's been a long time since I have. So anybody who's interested, and I don't care what promotion, it could be anybody in the United Wrestling Network. It could be anybody on one of the big 2. It doesn't matter to me. I have been doing this a long time. I have a lot of confidence in myself. I've beaten a lot of famous people in this wrestling business. I have a very impressive resume. I was once called the best unsigned talent in professional wrestling by a lot of people with a lot of influence and knowledge. And I don't want to sound cocky. I really don't. But sometimes being confident is just not quite enough. So I am open to stepping in the ring against any and everybody. And that's either by myself or with Johnny Dotson by my side, because from day one, we've been a unit and we work very well together. So we'll do whatever it takes and we'll step in the ring against whoever is willing. So I hope everybody who's listening, if you're interested, contact Championship Wrestling from Memphis. I'm sure arrangements can be made. The schedule is on the website, and I'm not a hard guy to find. I already told you where to find me on social media. Real simple. Look me up, meet me in the ring, and then shake my hand afterwards, because I will leave the better man.
There's the words of Alan Steele. Many iterations in that name, from all that to the Memphis Mauler to many other pseudonames that you've carried along the way throughout your wrestling career. And Alan, I got to say, I hope everybody listening believes every word that you've just said. This is not your average wrestling podcast. This is real. This is as real as it's going to get. And Alan Steele definitely, I can attest that he can back up what he says. And you can see that for yourself every Saturday. Championship Wrestling from Memphis, CW30, at high noon on Saturdays and on their YouTube channel, same time, same day, of course. And then, of course, Summer Showdown this Saturday, June 26th, Commerce Street Market. WWE alumni Swoggle's going to be there for free Memphis Wrestling, Mem Pop's 2-Butt Grilled Cheese Truck, and the best deals in town. It's a free event at 6 p.m. sponsored by Dave and Buster's, as well as Commerce Street Market. So you can check that out, possibly see Alan Steele, as well as the next TV taping, which is going to occur in July the 11th. You can join us there. Tickets available now. ChampionshipWrestlingFromMemphis.com. Follow Alan Steele at SteelTrap76 on all social. Alan, thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your busy schedule as champion to talk to me today.
Well, Terrence Ward, thank you for having me, and best of luck with your future endeavors.